So I posted on my Facebook page and on the synagogue Facebook page, they're doing a GoFundMe to raise money to be able to replace what was lost. And we're trying to send it out from the synagogue email, but there's a problem with the system that we use. So we haven't been able to send it out. But if if you're so inclined, that, and then also in the email, you'll see, in addition to sending money, we're doing something called a vid hug. A vid hug is basically a platform where you just kind of click on it and it'll lead you through it, where you basically record yourself saying a message of support, and then we will send it to the church. So that's something I'm going to talk about a little bit more later. But just a few announcements before we get started. So this Shabbat, tomorrow morning, we're going to host our very first, very small Shabbat morning service in the tent behind the synagogue. There won't be a sermon. I know that makes you all sad, or kiddush. It's going to be a short service, but it was a chance for us to start to create rhythms for gatherings that will keep us, safer. So if you want to sign up for this service or our evening minyanim or our morning minyanim over the course of the week, see the synagogue e-blast. You have to have signed up. And we're working on a system that will allow us to stream those services as well, and we'll keep everybody posted when that happens. Sunday morning, the Chug Ivri will be meeting, the Hebrew discussion group, 11 o'clock on Zoom. Monday night's book talk with Rachel Mesh has been moved to August 2nd at 8 p.m. And after a really informative and powerful talk this past week, our anti-racism series continues on Tuesday on Zoom with a session on how to talk to kids about racism. And that's going to be at 9 o'clock to account for parents who 8 o'clock is a little too early, but anyone's welcome to attend. On Wednesday morning, Torah for Today at 11, class with Rabbi Greenberg on Zoom. And then at night, on the schedule is a Parsha Hebrew class with master teacher Cantor Marcia Lane. It's all on Zoom. I checked in with her to make sure she still wants to do it because Wednesday night is also Tisha B'Av. So unless you hear differently, that class is happening. And Wednesday night is Tisha B'Av, the holiday that mourns the destruction of the temples and many other sad things in Jewish history. We're going to have a Mariv and evening service at 8 o'clock on Zoom, followed by an in-person reading of the book of Eicha behind the synagogue. You have to register for that. And a parallel online reading for those on Zoom. We're not going to try to Zoom what they're doing in the backyard of the synagogue as it gets dark, because we don't think that the quality will be so good. So we have our own readers on Zoom. They'll have their own readers live. And in the morning, we have in-person services that will be Zoomed in conjunction with Hadar. And Hadar is offering programming throughout the day for anybody who wants it. And then as Tisha B'Av ends, we'll have our regular evening service and then a men's club conversation. Next week, this Friday Night Live program is going to have a new look. We're trying something a little different. We're going to start at 6 p.m. instead of 5:30. We got some feedback that with Shabbat still at 8 o'clock, it feels a little bit late, a little bit early to be at 5:30. So we're going to push to 6, and we're going to integrate Kabbalat Shabbat davening into our program, followed by a virtual kiddush. So it'll still have a lot of the same elements, a Dvar Torah, some singing, whatever, but it'll be in the context of the Kabbalat Shabbat service. And stay tuned for upcoming musical guests. And now I want to turn it back over to Cantor Stevens.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to start with some music.
Rabbi Alan Liu was my predecessor at the synagogue I was previously at in Monroe, New York. And after he left that synagogue, he wrote a book called This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. It is a great title for any time, a book for any time, but particularly these days it rings so true. This is real and you are totally unprepared. It feels like that a lot. The book is a book about the high holidays, but it rests on an interesting thesis that to understand the high holidays in the context of the Jewish year and to be really prepared for them when they come, you have to start with Tisha B'Av. Yep, Tisha B'Av. It's a holiday that we'll observe this coming Wednesday night and Thursday. It's a fast day where we mourn the destruction of both temples, the days the houses of God were ransacked. And for Rabbi Liu, the end of the holiday season is actually not Yom Kippur, but it's Sukkot, the holiday that the rabbi saw as the days of incredible joy. And he imagines people being in their sukkah and having such an amazing time, and at the end, taking apart the sukkah with great joy and anticipation for next year. Rabbi Liu argues that for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to mean something, you have to start from a place of existential sadness and end with the consummate joy of the sukkah. He writes, this dance that begins on Tisha B'Av and ends on Sukkot, that begins with the mournful collapse of a house and ends with the joyful collapse of a house, this intentional spasm that awakens us and carries us through death and back to life again, stands for the journey the soul is always on. This intentional spasm that awakens us. Sometimes we need that. We need the thing that jolts us out of complacency and routine so much that we finally see what's not right about our relationship, what's not right in our heart, where we could do better. The call from a friend that says we have to talk. A life cycle event that reminds us of the passage of time. The moment we pay attention to that feeling in our gut, that feeling that we've tried really hard to ignore, that says the way we've been doing things is not sustainable. Tisha B'Av can awaken us. After the destruction of the Second Temple, the rabbis made lots of decisions about how Jewish life would carry on. They instituted regular prayer services that created schedules of regular Torah reading and Haftorah readings and other readings. And this week, they did something very elegant. They created an audible cue that's meant to awaken us. So in the Torah reading for this Shabbat, for tomorrow, Moshe cries out to God, Echa, how can I bear unaided the trouble of you and the burden and the bickering? Moshe cannot believe that he has to carry the burden of carrying the Israelite people. Echa, how can I do this? In the Haftarah for tomorrow morning, the prophet Isaiah bemoans how the people of Jerusalem were unfaithful to God, and he uses that same word. He says, Echa, how could it be that a city that was once filled with justice is now filled with murderers? And then on Tisha B'Av night, the book of Lamentations begins, Echa, alas, how could it be that Jerusalem, the city that was once filled with people, now sits lonely? Echa yashva vadad ha'ir rabati am hayta ka'almana. As a society, as a world, as individuals, Echa, all of this should make us ask in the same plaintive melody, how did we get here? With federal troops in American cities against the will of the mayors of those cities. With a Hasidic Jew verbally and physically attacked in Brooklyn. With the Crescent Avenue Baptist Church violated by intruders who ransacked the church, stealing computers and sound equipment. With our country in the grip of a pandemic that has caused a pandemic of loneliness and being scared. Echa, how could all this be? Rabbi Moshe Tarragon writes that the word Echa is a verbal gasp for air. What we see is shocking, and by exclaiming how, he writes, a person isn't expecting a response or information, but is trying to process something baffling and unimaginable. What's interesting is that with different vowels, the same 4 letters that spell the word Echa can be pronounced Ayeka, which means, where are you? That's what God asked Adam after he eats the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden. Echa is the verbal gasp for air. Ayeka is the insistent call to place yourself in the narrative, to respond. It can seem that with so much going on, the only response is like Adam, to hide from God, to hide from ourselves, to hide from what we know. But if we do this, if we hide like Adam did, then we miss the opportunity and the message of the season. We need to be shocked every day by what we see and who we are, and we need to respond. When I spoke to Pastor Stanley about the burglary and vandalism at her church, she said how horrible it feels to know that people would do that, to attack a place of God. I told her that this week we observe a holiday called Tisha B'Av that mourns the ransacking of our temple in Jerusalem. And even though it was thousands of years ago, we still mourn. So I understand those feelings. But we don't just mourn. At the end of the fast, some people have the custom of sweeping their front steps, straightening their house, because they believe that at the end of Tisha B'Av, that's when the Messiah will arrive. In the course of the day, we move from mourning to action, from Eicha to Ayeka. And over the course of the month, through Elul and the fall holidays, over that whole time, 2 months, if we do it right, we find ourselves looking at our world and our lives and saying, Eicha, how could this be? And then hearing the other voice that says, Ayeka. Okay, where are you in all this? What are you going to do about what you see? In what ways are you going to express your political views? How will you show solidarity with Jews who are attacked in Brooklyn or anyplace else? How will you tell the people at Crescent that you feel their pain? What will you do to alleviate loneliness for other people at this time? And along with that, can you hear your own soul saying, Echa, how did I get here? How did I get to this place? But also, Ayeka, where am I? What can I do to fix that relationship, to move towards health, commit to living a life of values? This week, the world lost a man who knew how to say this isn't right, and he knew what it means to respond. Congressman John Lewis, a civil rights hero, wrote that freedom is not a noun, it is a verb. Freedom is not a state, he said, it's an act. It's not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we must all take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair, more just society. What he captures here is the need for constant vigilance and actions, but he could be talking about any of the things that are important to us, the things that we think are nouns, but are really verbs. Honesty, piety, connection, commitment, love. They're not states of being, they are acts that must be repeated again and again. As we move from Eicha to Ayeka, from the verbal gasp to coming out from our hiding places, from Tisha B'Av all the way to Sukkot, imagine us on the other end of those months. It's a journey. This year, much of it will not be the same as in the past, but I'm really glad that we're on it together. Shabbat Shalom.
And I thought I would sing this week something in the spirit of the upcoming commemoration of Tisha B'Av. It's a text from the weekday Amidah, and it's a melody that I'll be using later in Kabbalat Shabbat as well. It's a prayer for the rebuilding of Jerusalem. V'lirushalayim ircha ברחמים תשוב ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ולירושלים עירך ברחמים תשוב ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת ותשכון בתוכה כאשר דיברת אליי ובני אותה בקרוב בימינו היי בניין עולם וכיסא דוד דוד עבדך אוי מהרה לתוך תחיני ובני אותה בקרוב בימינו אוי בניין עולם וכיסא דוד דוד עבדך אוי מהרה לתוך התחין.
Okay, so as Ben posted in the chat, if you want to help with the GoFundMe or you can do it there. If you want to wait at some point today, hopefully we'll be able to send out the email with other information about the church, how to do the vid hug thing. So now it's time for us to think about people who are sick or are in need of healing, and to offer a meshaberach for all of those people. So I want to ask you to unmute yourselves and to share anybody that you're praying for this week, someone that you hope knows healing. You can feel free to unmute yourselves. Let's hear the list, and then I'll start with the prayer.
Rachel Barshina.
Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarif Rachel Leah U'Yivarech V'Rapeh Tacholim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleihem Lachazikam L'Rapotam V'Yishlach Lehem Mehira V'Rufah Shlema L'Chol Ivreihem V'Gideihem B'Toch Shar Cholei Yisrael Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Hashta B'Ga'ala U'Izman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. And now we'll put up the prayer in place of Kaddish. Okay. Anybody here saying Kaddish this week for someone in particular? You can share who that person is.
Hi, Rabbi.
5 to 6. 5 to 6. You want to do the other one inside?
No.
Right here? Like that?
Okay. Anybody saying Kaddish wants to share a name of someone they're saying Kaddish for?
Maxima Tramber.
Ben Furter.
Yaakov Binyamin.
Elsie Rizal.
God of all spirits, in whose hands rest the souls of the living and the dead, graciously and mercifully accept our prayers on behalf of our loved ones, and remember all of the good and kind things that they did in this world. Grant them peaceful rest in the upper world, which is completely good. Yitgadal v'yitkadash, may God's great name be sanctified and glorified. Oseh Shalom, may God who makes peace in the high places make peace for us and for all Israel and for all who live on earth. V'imru, and let us say Amen. And now together, El Elohei Haruchot, Asher Biadcha Nafshot Achayim V'Hametim, Pnei Hayom B'Chesed U'Varachamim, El Tfilatenu Lezecher Yekirenu, U'Zachorna Et Kol HaChesed V'Atov Sha'asu Ba'olam Hazeh, Tein Lehem Menucha Nechona Ba'olam Elyon, Olam Shekulo Tov, Yitgadal V'Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Oseh Shalom B'Ramav, Uya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen. We're going to finish up with the cantor singing something else with us, not for us, but with us. So you feel free to sing along, mute yourself, but sing along. And also a reminder, next week, the service is going to start at 6 o'clock. Like I said, we're going to try a new format. So tell your friends, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to do Kabbalat Shabbat from the very beginning, a little nigun at the beginning, Yedid Nefesh, then like shorter pieces along the way of like speaking, and then the sermon, L'cha Dodi, and then there'll be time for hanging out and Kiddush afterwards. We think that might work a little bit better. So please, we're trying something different, and we'd love your feedback after next week. But now we're going to finish up for now with the cantor. She'll sing a little something, and then that will lead us into Kabbalat Shabbat that will start at 6.
Now we're all set to start Kabbalat Shabbat with Yedid Nefesh. Ay, 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 Yedid Nefesh Avaracham Meshoch Avdach Eretzonach O Yarut Avdach Kemo Haya Ishtachave El Mul Hadarach O Ye'erav Lo Yedidutach Minufetzuf Mechotam Ay, 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 הבך, עלינו הבך, או כי זה כמה נחשף לראות בתפארת וזך, תפארת וזך, או ענאי לי מחמד ליבי חוסנה ואל תתעלם, היי היי יגלנה ופרוס חביב עלי את סוכת שלומך, סוכת שלומך, אותה עיר ארץ מכבודך נגילה, ונשמחה לך, ונשמחה בך, או מהר אהוב, כי במועד וכונני, כי מעולם, היי 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 לכו נרנן על אדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדם עליו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי גדול אדוני מלך גדול, כל אלוהים ונמלא נפרי ארץ, ותפות העולם. ארבעים שנה קוד בדור, ואמרם טועה לבבהם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי באפי, אם יבואו אל מנוחתי. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסרו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו, וכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני לעולם מאוד, נורא הוא על כל אלוהים בעיני, כי כל אלוהי העמים אלילים באדוני שמיים עשה, הוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדש אוהבו, לאדוני משפחות עמים אהבו, לאדוני כבוד ועוז, כבוד לאדוני כבוד שמו, שאו מנחה ובואו לחצרותיו עיני, ישתחוו לאדוני בחלת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך, אף תיכון תבל ואל תימות, ידין עמים במישרים ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירם הים. יעלו צדי וכל אשר בו עיניים, אז ירננו כל הצייר לפני אדוני קיבה ישפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים באמונתו נאי 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 Adonai malach tagel haaretz yismechu im rabim anan varachta svivav tzedek mishpat mechon yesh levan alev Shama vatismach Zion vatagelna bnot Yehuda leman mishpatecha Adonai Ki ata Adonai Elyon Al kol haaretz me'od na'aleita Al kol Elohim Ohavi Adonai sin'ura Shomer nafshot chasidav Miyad Rishayim yatzilem Or zaru ala tzadik Yishrelev simcha Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai Vehodu lezecher kodsho Mizmor Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash Ki niflaot asa Hoshia lo yemino Uzero kodsho Hodia Adonai Yeshuato Ve'ine agoyim v'nilati tzidkato Zachar chasdo ve'emunato Beit Yisrael ra'u chol ha'se'aretz Et Yeshuat Eloheinu Hariyu l'Adonai kol ha'aretz Pitzchu ve'ranenu ve'zameru Zamru l'Adonai bechinor Bechinor ve'kol zimra B'chatzotrot ve'kol shofar Hariyu lifnei hamelech Adonai yiram hayam u'melo'o Tevel v'yoshveva Neharot imcha uchaf Yachad harim yeranenu Lifnei Adonai kiva Mishpat haaretz Yishpat tevel v'tzedek Ve'amim ve'meisharim Nay 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 Lay 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 nay 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 lay 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 nay 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 lay 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 Adonai malach yirgezu amim yoshev kiruvim tanut haaretz Adonai b'tzion gadol קדוש שמך גדול ונורא קדוש הוא ולמלך משפטי ותלם. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. מזמור לדוד. הבו לאדוני בני אלים, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, ישתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש חיי כל אדוני המים אל הכבוד ירים אדוני על מים רבים חיי כל אדוני בכוח כל אדוני בהדר כל אדוני שובר ארזים וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון וסריון כמו בן רבים כל אדוני חוצר לעבוד אש כל אדוני יכיל מדברי יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש כל אדוני יכול לעלות ויחשוף יערות ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבודי אדוני למבול ישב וישב אדוני מלך לעולם אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, תחילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפיכה, רב לך שבט בעמק המלאכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, היד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קורבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך תגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתחכי ומה תהמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר על תילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, והיו למשיסה שוסייך, ורחקו כל בבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהיך, כמסוס חתן על כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, היד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Even though Dr. Ruth was unfortunately not able to stay with us tonight. I'd like to end our services as we enter into Shabbat with a comforting melody. I'm not sure if the text is available. This is the end of the following psalm. Tzadik katan yifrach ke'erez balevanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenun b'seiva deshenim verananim yiyu להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I love that melody for Lachadodi cantor. That was the cantor sang Lachadodi to a melody from Tisha B'Av. The melody that you sing when you stand up from the end of sitting on the ground. So it's like a very hopeful melody about birth and about sort of moving forward. I loved it. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom. We'll see everyone next week at 6 o'clock for our new and improved Kabbalat Shabbat experience. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.